A man stands alone on a darkened film set, script in hand, rehearsing lines for a role he may never finish. He plays a priest performing an exorcism, and as he reads aloud from the sacred verses written on those pages, the lights begin to flicker. The walls around him start to shake, and then something unseen, something that should not exist, rushes toward him. He is dead before anyone can explain what happened. And just like that, the roll is open. Enter Anthony, a man carrying more weight than any script could hold. He is a recovering addict, years of his life swallowed whole by substances after the death of his wife. His daughter Lee doesn't even call him dad. That distance between them, that silence, it says everything. Before the accident that stole his wife and broke his spirit, Anthony was a working actor, a real one. But grief has a way of hollowing people out. He disappeared into rehabilitation for nearly 2 years, and now, fragile, cautious, hopeful, he is stepping back into the world, and the world hands him the exact role the dead man left behind. Anthony is genuinely moved by this. He walks into a church and confesses. He speaks quietly about everything he destroyed, his family, his relationship with Lee. He goes home. He and Lee talk, carefully, like two people learning to trust each other again. Lee, who also has no stable work, has taken on the role of his personal assistant. It's practical, but it also means she's watching him closely. Shooting begins. Lee accompanies Anthony to the set every day, and it's there she meets Blake, the film's lead actress. They connect quickly. Blake takes Lee on a little tour of the set, and at one point they pass a storage area where 2 large prop robots are sitting dormant. As Lee walks by, one of them sparks, erratically, without any reason. Neither of them says much about it, but the camera lingers. On set, Anthony finds the film's on-set priest, and they begin discussing the character, the theology behind the role, the weight of the verses Anthony will have to deliver. Mid-conversation, Anthony's nose begins to bleed. He notices it. He dismisses it. Probably his medication. Probably nothing. The day wraps well. Anthony seems steadier than expected. But that night, shh, Lee is in her room, scrolling on her phone, when she hears something. A sound from the living room. Low, unplaceable. She walks out and notices a door down the hall is locked. Sealed from the inside, it seems. Then the kitchen tap turns on by itself. She crosses to shut it off. And when she turns back around, the locked door is open, and there is nobody inside. She is about to let it go. But then she sees him, Anthony, standing at the far end of the corridor, still, mumbling, eyes somewhere else entirely. She walks up to him, and instinctively she tickles him, trying to snap him out of it. He startles, looks around, seemed confused, assumes he must have been sleepwalking. The next day on set is harder. Anthony struggles with his lines. The director loses patience and throws something cruel at him, tells him to think about every painful moment of his life if he wants to find the emotion. And for just a moment, we are pulled into Anthony's past. A cold stone convent, a child, and a figure of authority who should have been safe, but wasn't. Anthony pushes it down and returns to his script. But when he opens the pages, something is written inside that was not there before. Drawings. Dark, jagged, unsettling drawings. And a message scrawled in a hand that is not his. Anthony, no one can save you from me. He opens a drawer. Inside is a crucifix, and we see a flash, that same crucifix, in the hands of a young boy. Lee finds him unraveling and asks what's wrong. He tells her he can't speak the holy words out loud, not as a performance. They feel too real, too heavy. She steadies him. She tells him simply, believe in God and believe in yourself, and this will feel easier. He starts to rise, and then the dizziness hits. He tells her he needs to rest and walks away, but he doesn't go to his room. Lee watches him descend to the basement. She follows quietly. She begins recording on her phone. Water running. Strange sounds. She edges closer, and her phone slips from her hand. When she straightens up, Anthony is right there, exposed, behaving in ways that are deeply, deeply wrong. He moves back upstairs, and Lee follows him, shaking, telling him he needs to change his medication. He needs to see a doctor. Anthony doesn't respond, and in the dim light of their home, we see it. Dark marks crawling across his skin, appearing for just a moment, then gone. On set, things fracture further. The director is frustrated. The other actors are uncomfortable. Anthony is unraveling in public now, and he responds the only way the broken part of him knows how. He drinks again. Meanwhile, the on-set priest quietly asks Lee if she believes in what this film is depicting. She thinks about what she witnessed the night before. She tells him she's starting to. She comes home that evening to find Anthony already there. His hands are torn open, bleeding. His face is wrong. And Lee, exhausted, terrified, heartbroken, tells him what she sees. She says he went back to the life that destroyed them, and she says she's done. She's leaving. Something in him snaps. He screams, and every piece of glass in the room shatters. He closes the space between them, and his voice drops to something low and unrecognizable. He says, "You have no school, no mother. There is only me, and you will stay with me." Lee, trembling, tells him to get away from her. She calls him by name, Anthony, and he looks at her with those white, hollow eyes and says, "I am not Anthony." Ugh. The next day, Lee goes straight to the priest on set. She shows him the recording, the sounds from the basement. Anthony, in the dark, muttering, calling out to something, calling out to a demon, a specific name, Moloch. The priest goes pale. This is not small. This is not a breakdown. He tells Lee to go home and stay safe while he researches. That night, the priest digs into everything he can find on Moloch. And while he does, whatever is living inside Anthony writhes. The priest feels it in the air around him, a pressure, an energy. And we are pulled back again to that convent, to that child, to that father who stole something that could never be returned. Back on set, Anthony falls apart completely during filming. He hurls the crucifix across the room. Descending the stairs, his body does something that no human body should ever do. His spine bends backward, twisting against itself again and again. Everyone freezes. And when Lee rushes to him and calls his name, the same answer comes back, flat and final. "I am not Anthony." He begins slamming his head into a table, repeatedly, deliberately. The director replaces him. A new actor steps in to rehearse. Anthony finds him, and he kills him. Right there on set, the production shuts down entirely. Blake is shattered. Lee brings her home to try to comfort her, and Anthony finds them both. He attacks, and then, when they scream at him to leave, he steps to the window, and he doesn't fall. He simply vanishes. Lee and Blake go to the priest. He tells them what he now knows for certain. Anthony is fully possessed by Moloch, and the demon will have returned to where the possession first took hold, the set. Lee goes back. She finds a Bible on the floor and walks into the room to pick it up. She doesn't hear him come in behind her. Shh. Anthony, or what is wearing Anthony, stands inches away. Terrified, Lee begins reading the verses aloud, and the demon reads them with her. Calm, almost amused, it tells her these words have been spoken at it for centuries. They no longer work. Lee begs it. She says Anthony is dying. Please, let him go. The demon responds. He has been dying for years. It lunges at her. But Lee raises the crucifix she's been holding and presses it directly to the demon's head. Something gives way. The demon weakens. And in that moment, the priest and Blake, who had been paralyzed by the demon's hold, come free. The priest steps forward and makes an offer that should not be made lightly. He tells the demon to leave Anthony's body and enter his instead. He knows the risk. He makes it anyway. Moloch accepts. And now we finally understand the full shape of Anthony's wound. It was never just grief. It was never just addiction. As a child living in that convent, the very priest entrusted to protect him did the opposite. And after the violation, he would press an inverted crucifix to the boy's forehead, a mark of worship, a door left open. The trauma became a fracture, and the fracture became an entrance. Moloch had been waiting inside that wound for decades. Back in the present, the demon now inhabits the priest's body, and Anthony, broken, exhausted, terrified, picks up the holy crucifix. He begins to recite the verse, and this time, it lands, because something has shifted in him. The act of facing it, the memory, the shame, the wound has changed the architecture of his faith. The words carry weight now, real weight. The demon shudders, weakens, and finally, releases. In the final moments, life is quieter. Anthony goes to church every morning. Lee sits at her desk writing, turning everything she survived into a story, into a film. The camera holds on her for a moment before the screen goes dark.